Welcome to the Elevate Hair Show. We've got a special guest tonight, all the way from the big state of Texas, our good friend, Mr. John Mosley, aka Popular Nobody.
What's
John,
going
what's
on,
up?
Tatum?
Man, so
Nothing much.
happy to have you, man. Tell us a little bit, where are you right now?
I am, as you can see, this beautiful backdrop here is the Paul Mitchell Arlington Barbering Program. So I'm
Nice.
here currently holding down the director's chair there.
I love it, man. We do a lot of sort of avant-garde out there work, and we touch on men's work a little bit, not as much as I would really like to. So I wanted to actually get you on the show tonight to give our audience a perspective of the barber world, men's grooming, and where you saw sort of trend moving and going. I also kind of want to give our audience a little bit of a connect to your Instagram page because they probably have seen you before and maybe just not in this context. Can we go ahead and bring up John's page? So you go by the name and handle Popular Nobody, and you're certainly not a nobody. You're an amazing educator. You have great stage presence. You've got a great page. Tell our audience, where did that name come from?
It came from a good friend of mine. I was sitting there cutting his hair, and if you know me, you know I'm a quiet type. Like when you see me at a hair show, I'm not loud. I don't walk around loud. I'm quiet. I just do my job. And so one day, I didn't want to be put in a box, so I was originally started out with the name the Barber JM. And then one day my boy was like, "Man, you kind of like a popular nobody. Like your work is everywhere, but nobody knows you." And then so that just how it came about, and I took it and ran with it, and it fits my personality well. And I think for any young artist that's trying to grow a brand or build a brand, or even an older one, with the times that we have now to reset, make sure your brand speaks who you are, because it's easier to sell yourself than it is to sell a character. So
I love that. And you're already hearing why John's such a great educator because he, can speak so eloquently about things that are beyond just hair dressing, or hair cutting. And I think that's what makes you special. On top of your work, I mean, you are, have a celebrity clientele. We do see your work all the time and may not know that it's you. But I love that you, despite that, or, you still are connected to education. I'm normally seeing you on platforms. In fact, I just said earlier that last time I saw you, we were in London and you were on stage working. What does education mean to you as an artist and as just a human being?
well, the highest form of inspiration is to inspire someone, right? And so for me, getting into education, I seen my mom, Doris Mosley, be an educator in the beauty industry, my sisters, Lily and Annie, and just some of my close friends like Roger Samuels and a lot of other people. And the feeling that you get when you can help somebody else make points and dots connect, to me, it's no greater feeling. And to see other people grow. And so that's kind of what led me into education. I went to Roger Samuels' class called Edutainment. And after that, I fell in love with it. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. And so that's what made me get into education. And really, it's like one of my quotes on Instagram: teachers are responsible for everybody else's career. So it takes a teacher to teach everybody else to do their job. So we're really important. And so for me, I just fell in love with being able to entertain, educate, and inspire people.
I'm sure you don't know this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I am actually a byproduct of your education because when I saw you at the Hairbrain show, you were doing something that I thought, as just based on my training, you were not supposed to do. And I'm looking up some of your work here, and it really resulted in how you approached a fade. So I always thought you start from the very bottom of the hair and then work up, and that to sort of put anything that was a strong line or would be problematic. And then I see you do it. I'm like, oh, well, actually he's crushing that whole look. And so I started to pay attention to your videos and stuff. And I'm sorry for everyone at home if I'm making you go blind. I'm just looking for this one video. I think here it is. Or no, it's not. Anyway, you basically put in a strong line and you end up with this. And so talk to me about some of the sort of skill around barbering and how you kind of can make a line disappear. And where did you learn that?
It's basic principles. If you're a cosmetologist, you can understand it. If you're a barber, you're going to understand it. Long as you know the rules and you understand fundamentals, you could do a lot of things because you know your tools, you understand placements, you understand over direction, you understand elevation, you know those things. So when you know them, it's like, okay, well, I know I could get in a jam if you understand diagonal back placement. If you understand that you're not going to stamp a line in, and one of the things when I teach, I tell people, if I stamp this line in with this clipper, if this is the head and this is the clipper, if I come in, that's marriage. You just committed to that line. But if I flip that clipper over and create graduation, which every men's haircut is a graduation haircut. So if I create graduation, I'm not married to that line. I'm just baiting it.
I like that. And guys, I got it up. So this is sort of what I was talking about, and seeing that hard line, it gave. I mean, to be honest, I was like, "Oh my God, what is he gonna do?" I thought he wasn't supposed to do that, and then it just disappeared beautifully. So this is sort of what we're talking about here. Walk me through just a little bit of how you approach this for our audience who might not be as don't really know how to do this.
So I look at every head shaped the same. You have the temple, you have the mastoid process, you have an occipital bone, and you have the nape. Those will never change. So I'm not breaking any rules. I'm staying within the rules. I start my placement in the temple area. I use the mastoid to drop the fade in the back if I need to. The occipital bone tells me if it's going to be a low, medium, or high placement off of the bone structure. And so that's how I do it. Anything underneath that temple line is the shortest point. If I move up into the temple to parietal ridge area, that's my transition point, and everything from parietal to the ceiling, really, or to the floor, depending on how you style the hair. That's just finished style and cut, finished product.
That's awesome. I got a question for you too. How I find that, you know, being creative is something that really fuels me. And I have this notion, and please tell me I'm wrong because I think I am, but like that men's hair sort of, you kind of have to stay in a box, so to speak. How do you get out of that box, and how do you find creativity in doing men's work?
I love that you reference in a box because anybody that ever been to my class, I tell you I cut squares. I just cut a square.
Yeah, it's men's, right?
I cut a square and I round where necessary if need be. And so for me, just finding creativity is changing placement, changing texture, changing the style of it. But most of all, it's creating a different placement to get a different end result. People always ask me, like, what's one of my favorite haircuts to cut? And it's a mullet, to be honest. And the reason why I love the mullet is because I think if you could execute a mullet properly, you're showcasing a skill set that shows texture, you know how to cut with scissors, you know how to cut with clippers, you also know how to style. Sometimes you know how to use razor work, you understand elevation, you understand over direction, you understand hair cutting, and you know the whys of what you do when you could execute a proper mohawk or mullet.
Well, I mean, you're obviously speaking my language right now, but we had a conversation on Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is interesting, and there's a lot of people talking sort of business, shop, and things like that, and I wanted to do something different, so we had a whole conversation on the mullet, and you brought this up then, but you also said that there was someone who brought up language and the languaging of mullet, and what's a mullet, what's a shag, and you sort of flipped the script and said that in barber culture, a shag is sort of a mullet. Can you explain that to our audience?
Yeah, depending on type and texture, the type and texture plays a big part. So if you're extra curly and you don't have the length, it's not going to really fall like a mullet. It's going to sit more like a shag. And if you have the straight, most straight hair, curly or wavy, you're going to have the length that actually is going to give you that hang time in the back, that Kentucky waterfall. So to me, it's like just understanding the two differences where texture will determine the name of it.
That's awesome. Before we got on, I wanted to talk to you about where hair trends are going. in the men's world. And what I've noticed just by watching TV, and I'm a huge sports fanatic, and I love the NBA. My Pelicans are, I love them, right? And so I'm seeing a lot of hair that normally on those athletes, or like on Trevor Noah, was very like tapered and like tight. The pandemic, I guess people are kind of experimenting with length and growth. And I wanted to ask you if that was something I'm just kind of seeing on TV, or if you're seeing that in the real world. Is that happening in your shop?
To be honest, I think it was a trend that was starting before the pandemic, but the pandemic just sped the process up. You've seen in college, like look at the guys with the long dreads right now in college. Look at, the guys, Baylor. He just had the dude had a dope shag, or a dope mullet
Yeah.
on the Baylor team. So I think it's just being looked at different now, because before the NBA was known for guys who had the fresh haircuts like Jawan Howard, the Chris Webbers, that era, Anthony Mason, they had dope, clean haircuts. And now the next generation is like, we love our hair and we just gonna wear it the way we want to wear it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. I think maybe that speaks to, I think there's a lot of people wanting to just be them, regardless of what society says is right. And so thank you for giving us a little bit of insight. Yeah, I guess we were seeing things sort of move into a longer direction prior to the pandemic. And like anything, the pandemic just throws gas on it. It explodes.
Yeah, it just ignited it.
Where are you seeing future casting hair? Are there anyone that you could reference in the sort of celebrity world, or and maybe in the athletics world, that you think is really on the edge, and a year from now, a lot of people are going to be wearing that type of look?
You know what? To be honest, I really don't see nobody that's leading the forefront with like hair trends. But what I will tell you, I get a lot of my inspiration from soccer. So when you look at MLS, soccer kind of is that sport that's a real big international sport, and you'll see haircuts and hair trends from all over. So a lot when I'm looking for like hair inspiration or stuff like that, I'm typically gonna go look at soccer players.
Interesting. Yeah, and yeah, I definitely can see that now that you mention it. I want to bring up your page again real quick because we've been talking about inspiration. One of the things I've liked out of you lately, I don't know if it's maybe the last 6 months or year, I'm seeing a lot more inspirational quotes, and I'm also seeing some humor on your page. And so I just kind of wanted to look at your page and tell me, what's going on. So let's go ahead and start with humor. This one just happened today, and I thought it was pretty, pretty funny. Bam! Oh, so she's fine, folks. She's fine. She survived. Thank God. What is it about humor that you find inspiring on your page?
I feel like with the pandemic, we've seen a lot of hair. Like everybody that has hair pages, we've seen a lot of hair. So I think for me, it was more or less like, this is the stuff I laugh at on a daily. This is the stuff that I see and I think it's hilarious. So I was like, you know what? It's my page. I feel like the world's seen enough hair. I felt like the world's seen enough of a lot of things, And so for me, it was more or less geared around the world needs love and laughter. And so if I could use my platform to provide love and laughter, then that's what I'm gonna do. It's not like, if you know me, I cut hair. If you see me as an educator, I educate. But this is a little dive into my personality. This is the type of stuff that I sit back and laugh at daily. And so for me, it's just like, man, I just want to encourage people, like, it's okay to laugh. And that's why even in those captions, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know she could have got hurt. But at the end of it, like, where does common sense live? Because she didn't have to put that barbecue pit on the end of that step either. So it's just like conversations that I have with my wife or the homies. Like, I just say, you know what, F it. I'm going to bring it out to the world and show the world a different side of me. And, I love me. The people around me love me. So I'm going to just show the rest of the world, this is who I am.
I love the confidence there, because as a influencer creator, you tend to want to stay in your lane, and you've sort of broken all of that. And I think it's commendable, and I love following you even more now because I get to laugh too amongst all the hair that I normally see. But you're also trying to touch people on a little bit more of a deeper, more cerebral level with these inspirational quotes that I think are great. Let's go ahead and just start with this one right here. Can you see this? You want to go ahead and read this and tell us your thoughts on it?
Yeah, if you call yourself a leader and you look behind you and no one is there, you're just taking a walk. And, for me, I've been considered a leader for a long time. I felt leadership when I was in high school. I played sports and I was team captains. And, I've always tried to be the leader of my pack, good and bad. And so for me, it's like we have a lot of people in the world that say they're leaders, but what are you leading? What are you inspiring? Uh-oh. What are you leading? What are you inspiring? Like, are people really listening to you? Are you making a difference in somebody else's heart? And so to me, it's like when you turn around, do you have people that's actually like, man, we rooting for you? Or do you have people like just scattering away because they don't believe what you're doing either?
I love that. It's awesome. And you've got so many here. I might want to pick one more. Um, okay, let's do this one here. Go ahead and read that and tell us about it.
Most people are not afraid of anything but someone else's opinion of them. Man, think about it. When you really sit back and break that down, it's factual. We all do things and we'll turn around and we get right to the point of the edge, but then you're like, nah, but such and such, they're going to hate that. They might not like it. They might do this or they might. And it's like at the end of the day, what you said about my Instagram, I'm posting stuff that I don't care. Like I like it. So at the end of the day, if you don't like what I'm posting, that's okay. You're missing out on the opportunity to find a different part of life that you might need. You might need to laugh that day. You might need this type of message that I'm putting out in a quote to just change your mindset and change your direction of where you're going. Some of these videos I post, people laugh and text me like DMs and like, man, I appreciate this because I've needed this today. Or they see those quotes and they're like, I needed that today. So it's just really speaking a different mindset into our industry because a lot of my followers are in our industry. But it's just seeking to provide a different mindset to help other people think. If somebody don't like you and you're worried about their opinion, you're letting them live in your head rent free. So why do you even care about what they think? Does their one opinion matter? Or do the masses that really appreciate you matter? That's really that. So for me, it's like, yeah, a lot of people might not like some of the stuff I post. They might disagree, but at the end of the day, I'm not doing it just for you. I'm doing it for the masses. I'm changing the thought process of a lot of people with just words.
I think you need to adjust your Instagram bio to say teacher, educator, and then philosopher. I think needs to be on that. So just a little tip for you. Go ahead and update that.
I
You know,
appreciate it.
I'm just kind of imagining a little bit like how awesome it would be to be one of your students and come up from just a kid in high school or college who wants to get into the game a little bit and be a barber or be a hairdresser and to, be able to work with you. A lot of kids are going to be watching this program too. And so I thought it'd be great if you could give us a little bit of, what would you tell a kid today that might have some, fear and anxiety about coming out of school or even getting into school to do something that they're passionate about? What would you tell them as far as the next step going from hair school and then onto the barbershop floor, onto a salon floor?
Well, first thing I always tell students, a lot of students come to barber school or beauty school knowing something about hair. But what they think they know is not necessarily what they need to know. So they kind of combat a little bit. So I will always say, as you're coming into school, unlearn what you already know and learn the why behind what we do. The most successful people in our business, cutting, color, texture, whatever, makeup, they understand the why. So, and just to give an example, if I'm dealing with somebody that, if I'm doing a beard and their skin tends to get dark because they burn easy, I need to know, why is this happening? Okay, the skin is sensitive. It's missing something. So then I could recommend the right product, but then also I know I can't go over their skin with this trimmer. I got to go straight razor and detail with the trimmer because I can't eat their skin up for too long with that liner. So understanding those things. And then when you get into transitioning out of school, it's like continue to grow. Continue to learn. Don't close your box. The world is your box. Continue to develop inside of it and continue to push yourself and hang around people that's going to push you.
That's so great. I'm glad you said that, and I think hopefully there's some kids out there who heard that and took it to heart. Um, I've loved this conversation, and I felt like I learned more about you, and I know our audience did too. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here and dropping some philosophy on us and update that profile. And
Hey,
I
man.
hope to see you soon. I'm going to be heading to Texas at some point soon, so I'm going to stop by the shop and say hello. And if you come to New Orleans, let's hang out and do some fun stuff.
Man, I would love to. You've been able to do some work with D Nick, my brother. Um, so I would love to. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities. I love the food. I love the culture. I love the people. But also, when you come to Texas, I got a Popular Nobody studio as well. So that's full video capability, full podcast set, photography. So yeah, man, let's run it back and come. When you get to Texas, we'll do something on my end, and when I get to New Orleans, we'll do something on your end.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Heard it here first. We're going to do something soon in Texas and in New Orleans. Future casting, hopefully really soon. So get out there and get your vaccine so we can get this going. John Mosley, a.k.a. Popular Nobody. Great to see you, man. Have a great day.
Man, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can get this TV show off the ground. And if you missed any previous episodes, please go to our tv.elevatehair.com website. We've got all of our episodes on there for you to check out. Also, I want to say we've got new swag, new merch from Elevate Hair. So go to shop elevatehair.com for all the new stuff. We've got some goodies. See you soon.